Hello. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, my fellow speakers and distinguished guests. So my name is Viboon, and let me see whether I can work this. Right. Okay. The topic that I'll be talking about today is 10 years of single window, our implementation, the experience that we have, the trends we are seeing in single window, and then what can we do in the future? What are the things that we should be prepared for? Okay. I would like to mention here that this was actually a presentation on a paper written by my colleague and mentor, Mr. Jonathan Koh. He couldn't be here today, but he wrote the paper and presented it at a Global Trade Facilitation Conference in Geneva last year. Okay. So it's my pleasure to present it here for you. Okay, first of all, some disclaimer, basically saying that what I'll be talking about is the view of the author of the paper, right, and not the view of WCO, USAID, and also no animal has been harmed in creating these slides. Okay. Okay, the topic. Basically, I'll be walking you through the history of single window, the definition, perhaps because we have been talking so much about it, we should really know what it is about, right? And then I will share with you the evolution, the stages of evolution of a single window, how it usually gets started and how it ends up being a single window. I'll talk a bit about the trends, the technology trends of a single window that we have been seeing, the regional trends in terms of geographical regions, and then some lessons learned. Okay. So first of all, the term single window was first coined by UN CFACT in their recommendation number 33. Okay, this was in 2004. If you remember, TradeNet, as mentioned by Rick, was created in 1989. At the time, it wasn't called a single window. It was just called a trade portal, something like that, a TradeNet, what we call it. Okay, so in 2004, a formal definition of a single window is defined. Okay, it is a facility that allows parties involved in trade and transport to lodge standardized information and documents with a single point of entry to fulfill all imports, export, and transition-related regulatory requirements. Okay, so that's quite a mouthful of a definition. But if you look, if the more visually inclined among you, the graphics at the bottom here actually shows what a single window looks like. Basically, the custom brokers or trade community interface with a single either structure or authority or a system to submit forms, permits, do payment with whoever is in the regulatory and government agencies behind it. So for example, customs, chambers of commerce, and quarantine authorities, etc. Okay. So for single, in recommendation number 33, there are 3 models of single window. Okay. First is a single authority model. This means that there is a single authority that you can submit your paper forms or electronic forms to. And then the authority will take it and distribute it among the other OGAs and other authorities. Okay. Excuse me. The second model of single window is actually what they call a single automated system. Okay, so this is actually not an authority, but an IT system, a system that allows the trader, the customs brokers to submit declarations to OGAs and customs and the OGAs and customs are integrated into this single automated system. A variation of this is actually customs and OGAs have interface to the system. Okay, the difference is that one, the OGAs and customs comes into the single window to do their approval, their viewing of the form submitted. The other model is that the customs and OGAs have their own IT system that interface with the single window. Okay, so those are the two differences. And of course, the third model is that it's an end-to-end. Basically, the submission and approval are all done electronically. Okay. So now that we know what a single window looks like, we'll take a look at the benefits of it. In recommendation 33, it lists the benefits for both the government and for trade. Okay. Basically, I would not read the slides, but there are three key things that a single window will do. One is that it makes it cheaper for the community to do import-export. It makes it easier to do cargo clearance, and it reduces the time to do clearance. Okay, cheaper, faster, and easier. These are the three key ideas of what a single window does. Okay, so since recommendation 33 came out in 2004, what has transpired, right? A lot of countries once gets the vision and wants to implement a single window. But let us look at what a single window implies. First is that in this internet day and age, the single window usually requires heavy ICT investments. Okay? So most of the implementation is via IT, right, which requires infrastructure and ICT readiness. And second, single window implies that all government agencies should be on board. Okay? That was what was recommended. But many countries also found out that in order to get OGAs on board, it is not easy. Okay, there are a lot of roadblocks, a lot of politicking involved to get all the parties under one umbrella, which is called a single window. The third thing is that a single window implies that this facility will be launched throughout the country. Okay, it involves launching the single window in your road border, your airport, and your seaport, which is not at all easy. And many countries has found out that in order to implement the recommendation 33, to go from point A without single window to really a single window, point B, there's a lot of change management required. So what we have been seeing is that throughout these 10 years, countries move from point A to point B via A1, A2, A3, and then B. So there are stages involved in moving from a non-single window to a single window. And actually, UN recognizes this. In fact, the UN network of experts for paperless trade, which is the UN NEX, actually came out with this diagram, which gives a rough stage development of a single window, where at the beginning, it's basically a custom automation system with e-payment and electronic submission, which then expands to some OGAs, a handful of them, which then expands to banks, and then expands to more OGAs. Okay. So from the very initial beginning, recommendation 33, which says what a single window does, now we have a stage development onto a single window. I will talk a bit more about the stage development and the various stages in the next few slides. But prior to that, let's take a look at Trading Across Border report by the World Bank in 2012. Basically, it says that out of the 200 over economies, only 49 economies have a single window, of which 20 links all OGAs. That means 29 do not have all the OGAs that are necessary in a single window. Okay, so if that's the case, then where are we? Where are these 29 economies? So let's take a look at, if we redraw the diagram that we had just now, into a two-dimension graph with the integration scope on the x-axis and the business value chain on the y-axis, you'll see that to move from a custom system, basically a national single window with all OGAs will be here. And then there are various stages that you can move from here to here and beyond. Okay, for customs automation, basically this started in the 60s and 70s, where customs changed their process from paper-based into electronic-based. So systems such as Executor were implemented. Okay, so that is the very first step of moving towards the modern single window. Next is the trade point portals. This used to be a physical office where traders and the trade community can get information regarding trade. Okay, but now more often than not is implemented using a web portal. So that's the trade point portal. Next stage is the trade EDI and VAN, because in order for electronic submission of forms, of manifest, of declaration, you need a infrastructure to capture the data and to distribute it. For that to happen, usually in the late 80s and early 90s, what we call the value-added network is formed to handle all these transactions. Okay, an example would be Singapore TradeNet, Chinese Taipei EDI network, and Mauritius TradeNet. So next is what we call the limited single window, where we have the customs and port single window that are implemented. So these are actually the limited form of single window rather than the whole nation single window that we are talking about. And then the next step of evolution would be the nationwide single window. Okay. So for nationwide single window, we actually there's an idea to extend it, because the single window is a B2G portal. There are many countries are moving towards integrating a B2B to that as well, including Trade Exchange of Singapore, DTTN of Hong Kong, and U-Trade Hub of Korea. Okay. And the next step after the national single window would be a global single window, or what we call a supra nation-to-nation exchange of information. So an example would be the ASEAN single window and the Trans-Kalahari single window that put together a few single windows and exchange information. Okay, I will go onto the ICT trend. Basically, when we talk about single window and we implement it using technology, the current trend that we are seeing is that there is an emphasis on the messaging gateway to do the implementation. This is because, as I mentioned, a lot of EDI, XML, a lot of protocols, a lot of messages has to be handled. And what we are seeing is that other than messaging gateway and translation from any to any format, we are also seeing workflow engine and rules engine integrated into the gateway platform as well. Okay. Another technology trend is the service-oriented architecture, because there are many OGAs have their own IT system. So to integrate that, basically you need to have a flexible architecture in order to put that together. So there's a trend of moving towards SOA platforms to do the single window implementation. As well as cloud, there was an IT conference in Seattle, WCO IT conference in Seattle, where basically the whole conference is talking about cloud computing. And I'm sure later on we will be hearing a bit on that as well. Okay, next is the mobile. As you know, mobile and smartphones are very, very popular now. So we are seeing a trend where mobile devices are being used by customs, by single window authorities to collect data, to display data. Okay, I'll go into the trends, the regional trends that we have been seeing. Basically, this is taken from the past around 5 to 7 years of proposals that are being thrown out, that are being requested by various countries. Okay. So the trends is the proposals are from Africa, Middle East, Americas, Caribbean, and Asia. Okay, in Africa, what we are seeing is that a lot of East Africa countries are implementing the single window. Countries such as Mozambique, Madagascar, Kenya, Tanzania have all released requests for proposals on single window, which is a good thing. Their lead agencies are mostly customs. But on the other hand, West and Central Africa, countries such as Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, and Congo, Brazzaville, a lot of them have single window based on ports, and a lot of them are released by a lot of port authorities are the lead agencies for this. Okay. For Middle East, basically, the trend is that the GCC countries actually request for single window and customs management implementation at the same time. Okay, similar to what Mozambique has done. Basically, they are revamping the whole single window and customs together. Okay. For Europe, because of the long history of having port community systems or single window built around a port, so there isn't any national single window initiative, but rather a more European or EU initiative of data exchange between the ports. Okay. For the Americas, what we are seeing is that there's a lot of small, bite-sized single window tenders being thrown out. For example, even though there is national initiative, the tenders usually are around export oriented, because a lot of these Americas, for example, Colombia, Peru, etc., or Chile, they are more export oriented country. Okay. Next is the Asia. For Asia, as we know, we are moving towards the ASEAN single window. Let me just take a few minutes, just a couple of minutes on the ASEAN single window and what it is. Basically, it's a regional single window which allows the different members' national single window to exchange information. Currently, the mode of exchange is via XML, and basically the information exchange are the certificate of origin, mostly, right? And also the export declaration to become an import declaration on the importing countries. The side effect of having the ASEAN single window, which will come into force in 2015, is that it brings a lot of ASEAN countries up to mark on their single window implementation. That's because the governments are committed to develop the ASEAN single window by 2015. So by around this year or next year, a lot of their governments have to implement their own national single window. Okay, and because of this, as Rick has mentioned, the trading across border ranking for a lot of ASEAN countries has shot up. Okay, yeah, Chairman is telling me that we are short of time. just a couple of slides more. Basically, if you plot the whereabouts of the ASEAN country, their single window, against the graph that I showed you just now, you can see that Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand are at the national single window level, whereas Vietnam, Brunei are at custom single window level, and some are at trade point and just custom automation level. So we can do this for other regions as well. So I'll just skip to the lesson learned. Basically, for the past 10 years, we have seen that even though single window has recommendation 33, which is a standard single window format, standard single window definition, a lot of countries, due to either their needs or their technology advances or their readiness, have implemented single window in their own way, which is all right. There is no right or wrong in this, as long as it helps to facilitate trade. Okay? And the second point is that to move from non-single window to a single window, basically is an evolutionary process. You can do bits and pieces to get from point A to point B. Okay, the impact of the, and also the third point is that we are seeing a positive, very positive impact of a single window. Once implemented, it really helps to facilitate trade, especially in developing countries and the up and coming countries. Okay, point 4 and 5 relates to the need for data exchange between the different countries, the different single windows. Because once a region has, every country in the region has a single window, sooner or later, these single windows will have to talk. Okay, so there is actually a need, as of now, to really standardize some of the communication protocols that a single window can do, some of the data structure that it can pass and exchange with one another to help us prepare for a global network single window. So with that, I think I will end my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions.